And so you buy this car.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just so happens that like the person that like runs the car company may or may not have given a Nazi salute at election day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he
Yeah.
may or may not be on ketamine.
Right. Right. Right.
And he may or may not have fired a bunch of people who might be friends of yours in the government and cause them to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you beholden to that man and his whims just because you happen to have bought a car?
Oh, that's amazing.
Comes from a company that he once acquired years ago.
Look, we're an extremely consumer like facing society, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are a capitalist nation, late stage capitalism, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
Yeah.
Do I have a bone to pick with the term late stage capitalism?
Good. No, here's the bone. Go for it. What is it?
Yeah.
A few days that like I would get these nosebleeds that would not stop, right? Like for hours. And I went to lunch at Chick-fil-A and one of those started. And so I was like bleeding while I was eating the chicken. So I feel like that was like God's trying to strike me down, like a gay god. The gay god's trying to be like, you can be here, but you're going to spill blood all over the place, you know?
Welcome to The Elephant. I'm Julian, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Anthony.
Hello,
Hi, Anthony.
everybody. Hello.
Happy Juneteenth, Anthony.
Thank you. Happy Juneteenth to you too, Julian.
Yeah, we speculated whether it would still happen this year.
Yeah.
We thought it might be canceled, but
right,
you know, because Trump,
I think he just forgot to cancel it. I think he forgot it was Juneteenth, and
it's a reoccurring habit of his, forgetting about Juneteenth.
And he just forgot to cancel it. But I do think he's going to get around to it next year. So this might be the last official one for a while. But yeah, well, who knows? Yeah. I will say though, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just because he was such a lover of civil rights and
right, of course, liberation,
black people, as he is always reminding us.
Yeah. Unless it's a family of white people. He loves saying that the blacks love him. It's awesome.
Yeah, they're his favorite nuclear family.
Exactly.
They have a white picket fence.
And
they live in Michigan.
But no, it's been a little hard to. Well, this last couple of weeks have been very interesting, right, in the United States. This last couple of days, just crazy. Days, right? I don't know what you did on Saturday. Right, for the president's birthday, aka King's Day, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the protests. Well, I had to preach in my church that day because it was a Saturday, and we're going through a transition, and so maybe we can link up that sermon because it was awesome.
Right.
It was good. But it was like a protest sermon, you know. And that was fun. But then, the marches were pretty big here where we live in the Bay Area.
Nice. I got out to a march, a protest in Palo Alto, and, it was great. Going to a protest in Palo Alto is very different than going to a protest in, like, many other parts of the world.
Yeah.
In that, essentially, you never see the police.
Oh, wow.
They're like invisible ghosts.
Wow, that's insane.
They're there, but they're always behind the scenes. So they're really good at staying hidden. And give me 1 second. Crisis averted. Oh, yeah, I got out to the No Kings protest in Palo Alto, and it's very delightful. There's a lot of sweet old ladies.
Yeah.
In fact, mostly sweet old ladies. It's kind of funny because in the black community, we often refer to, other black men as kings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you're aware of this,
I
Anthony,
am. I
but,
am aware. Yes.
and I think that
It's now become like Gen Z vernacular too.
right, right, right. But unfortunately, there was, I think, a miscommunication in that no kings
Uh
seemed to be interpreted in the Gen Z vernacular, and
huh.
there were no kings in the Palo Alto
I see.
protest. Of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
apart from yours truly,
Yeah.
I think I spent like half an hour scouring
Yeah.
the protest mob there to find another king such as
I
myself,
see. I
but
see.
I couldn't quite find one, which was which was quite odd in like a group of like a couple thousand people. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
okay,
Well.
Kings. You
Yeah. I
can show up
was.
to the
Yes.
protest.
I
They're
was.
not talking about
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I was in Lake Merritt, and there were a lot of kings, and
Okay,
yeah.
good,
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
good. You
Yeah.
must have
Yeah.
gotten all the ones
Yeah. I think they all
we
came
were
there.
missing.
Yeah. 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 But it was a very democratic showing of kings, and so yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what the numbers you've heard, but I've heard like anywhere from around like 10 to like 14 million people came out to the No Kings
Yeah.
protests.
Right. Right. 8,000 in Oakland in the Lake Merritt one at
Incredible.
its high point. Yeah. 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 And then
And yeah,
on Dolores
that's
Street in San Francisco as well. Like
and I hope all
even
those
more.
people
Yeah.
share their emails
Right.
with the organizers because
Right.
these protests, like, for those that don't understand like how to fight back
Yeah.
politically
Yeah.
against an increasingly authoritarian regime, like sharing your emails with
Yeah.
protest organizers is like the first step,
Right.
because there will come a time when you need to show up for something that's like
Hmm.
important electorally, like
Right.
actually getting someone elected or
Right.
voting on a piece of legislation. That mobilizing at those key
Right.
points of time are really what organizing is about.
Yeah.
So
And
great to show up to the protests.
that's how you actually make it no kings, right?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like yeah, that's how you take them down. Yeah, Elon. What happened?
Yeah. Well, this is the breakup we've all been waiting for, right,
Yeah.
Anthony?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's like what their breakup, their couple name would be, Elanold or Mump. I don't know. Both are pretty good.
Yeah, Mump. I like Mump. Yeah, the
Mump
Mump
is good,
dynasty. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But Mump broke up,
It
and then they
did.
kind of made a little bit nice. But
Mm.
for the time of the breakup, it was pretty great
Oh, it
because,
was amazing. It was yeah. Maybe
like,
a good distraction to the big beautiful bill, and the ice raids.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
And if it was intended like that, then it worked brilliant.
yeah. I mean, Elon said he didn't like the bill. He said it was an abomination. And then he called Trump a pedophile
Right? Yeah,
and said he was
yeah,
in the Epstein files. And I
yeah.
was just like,
And just the
what?
way he
This is
did it,
amazing.
like with
Mhm.
the same Elon bravado, and that and love, just yeah,
Yeah.
it was great.
And then it was such a shame because he, a couple days went by and then he came crawling back and said
Yeah, he
like
did.
maybe he went too far, and I'm like,
Mhm.
don't chicken out, Elon. It was good. It was good while it lasted, and I do think their relationship is definitely going to be a little bit icier right now. Elon was an interesting figure in the Trump world because he is like the richest man in the world, and then basically was give like unfettered access to apparently U.S. citizens' data as well
Right,
as every
right.
department,
I mean,
and
yeah,
just mhm,
it's the nightmare scenario sort of coming into right. Like the richest man in the world gets to now make cuts
mhm.
to the poorest people in this country, right? And yeah, it was beyond like yeah, he wasn't he's an odd person to pick. Obviously, he's the richest person, but like he's not an American, you know, like. And for the MAGA faithful, I don't know how they got around that. I think it's just money trumps, I don't know, hate, I guess. And without him, Trump does not become president again. So
Yeah.
Trump
Well,
really
so he
does owe him.
asserted in his
Yeah.
tweet war with Trump is that he
But he's
basically
right.
made Trump president.
He's right. I mean, he spent so much money on ads, and every single ad that you heard, like that was a Musk dollar right there. You know?
Yeah, and he did help, grease the wheels to get into the Rogan podcast world because Elon is a regular with Joe Rogan. And so I think that he definitely did lend a lot of assistance. You know, he tried to do all sorts of media push with Trump and through Twitter. So it's going to be an interesting relationship as it continues to evolve. I don't think this is the first time they're going to have a marital spat.
And another fun little side effect is that Elon was JD Vance's number one backer, you know, and
Yeah.
he's the one that suggested JD Vance as the running mate. And now that Elon's out, you know, Trump has never really liked or trusted Vance, but now he really doesn't, you know, like he really holds on suspiciously,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So yeah, this to think that this is making life harder for Vance is making me happy. So
Yeah. I do think the one drawback is public polling used to show that Elon was like the most unpopular person in the Trump orbit. And a lot of the public, you know, Republican and Democrat alike, didn't like the fact that Elon had like all this power.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that he's gone, he's kind of been like scapegoated as like, well, all the things you didn't like about Trump, that was just Elon's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to put that on Elon, which is probably part of the reason why they wanted, you know, he's so mad about this whole thing.
Right.
So without him there, it's going to be a little bit harder to make the administration have like a very unpopular figurehead. And, you know, you can even see it with like the way he's distracted from the BBB, which some folks in the media call the big beautiful bill, which I don't know.
You said you were going to refuse to say it. What happened to that?
Yes, I only say that for descriptive purposes.
You caved on your promise.
Oh, how easily the mighty have fallen. No,
last week you were just like, I'm not going to say it.
No, I refuse to say it. I only say it because I want our listeners to know what I'm talking about.
No, totally. And it's a terrible, terrible thing. I think Musk was right. I can't believe I'm saying that, but like it is an abomination.
Well, I mean, this wouldn't be the first time you endorse a Nazi on this podcast.
That's true.
I should say defend a Nazi.
I did defend him a little bit. I said that he at least wrote his book. But I didn't endorse. Don't say that.
No, I'll cut that out.
You have to cut it out. It's fine. I bet the other podcast doesn't say that. Yeah, in your face. Yeah, no. But yeah, no. And another thing, like, well, I think it passed, right? The bill passed the House.
It passed the House, yeah.
And it's being tweaked right now, right, in the Senate.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think that it's crazy to me that we are entertaining this bill at all. Like the fact that this bill even exists, is really unconscionable. Like this bill would have been political suicide for any politician that voted for it probably 10 years ago, right? If you were saying that I'm going to cut Medicaid by like $1.1 trillion and in order to give tax cuts to people making over $500,000 or more, like no politician could escape that kind of a a vote before, and
Right.
these people are just like passing it like, oh, what else are we gonna do? Let
And this,
taxes go up for the rich? Like, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me.
yeah, and the fact that we let the richest man in the world, just blanket oversight over all of our data. Yeah, that this is
Yeah.
bad. This is
And
horrible.
how is the richest man in the world the biggest, the most outspoken opponent of
Yeah,
this bill? Like,
that's true.
I mean, obviously Democrats are, unanimous in their disdain
Right,
for it, but they don't have the mouthpiece that Elon has,
right,
right?
right.
And so the loudest guy that's like against this bill is actually the guy that like probably stands one
Yeah,
of the most to gain from it. Like, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Like, how bad does your bill have to be to elicit
that's
that kind
also
of
true.
response?
That's also true. Yeah. So, what do you think made Elon back down? Because he was pretty aggressive.
Oh, back down from
Yeah.
calling Trump a pedophile and
Right.
saying he's in the
Right.
Epstein files.
Hmm.
I think, at the end of the day, he realizes that like Trump can hurt him if he really
Mm.
wants to hurt him. Like, he can
Right.
affect his government contracts. He can make life very difficult for Musk to sell cars or
Hmm.
launch spaceships. And so he realizes that like he can't really make that much of an enemy of Trump,
Mm.
even if he has passed the point where he sees them having, you know, a beautiful
Hmm.
union together.
This
I
is so good.
mean,
This is so good. So, also on Fox News, they were saying like these are two alpha males like going at each other. It's like these guys are like little bitches, like oh my god,
right.
like little tweets and little like you guys are not alpha males. Um, yeah,
It always shocks me how like anti LGBTQ like the right is, and then how much they just like
well, they're upset. I think they're obsessed with sex. I think they're like so repressed.
yeah, they're like
You
constantly
know,
sucking these guys off. Like,
all
and I
this.
don't
Yes,
like,
yes.
I don't mean that pejoratively, but I
No,
mean like
no,
when you
no.
hear them talk about like Trump
Yeah.
and Musk, like, do you see the size of the balls on this guy? Like, he's just has a huge
These
penis,
are
and you're like,
two titans going at each other.
yeah, you're like,
It's
what
like
are these guys talking about?
two old
These
men.
are the guys that don't like
Yeah.
trans and gay people. Like, I
Right.
don't understand.
No, I know. I know. Anyway. Yeah.
Elon, like Elon said about, I'm not gay, but I love this man more than anyone could love a man in a non-gay way, and I'm like, that that you're not really helping your point. Like, that just
Oh
makes
my
me think you might be
goodness.
gay.
Oh my
Not that there's
god.
anything wrong with that.
No,
Like,
yeah, I know.
we're all friends here.
Yes.
You can
Yes.
just say I am a little bit gay for Trump, and that's okay. Like, that's okay. But don't. But why?
I can't
Why
wait for
the?
that. I can't wait for that T-shirt at Pride.
Right, right,
I'm a
right.
little gay for Trump.
Yeah.
Elon Musk.
I mean, there are gay people that like Trump. I don't know
I'm,
why they
I'm,
have to
I'm
insist that like
sure someone
it's
does.
not a gay thing. Like, that just makes me think they're protesting too much, right?
Yeah, no,
Like,
100%, and that happens all the time in the right.
yeah,
Yeah, they're just obsessed with virility and to
yeah,
the point
yeah,
of like you're getting a little ancient Greek about it. You know what I mean?
yeah. A little
Yeah,
ancient Greek,
yeah, yeah.
and it always seems to
Let's all
like,
have the Olympics naked, to celebrate virility.
yeah. I love it. It always seems to me
Uh,
like uh they get like so hopped up on like masculinity that
yeah, yeah,
I'm I'm like, you guys don't sound like, I never have to talk about how
yeah.
like masculine my friends are, right? Like
Right.
how strong and
And
muscular and
yes,
like
and
tough they are. Like,
exactly.
it's kind of demasculating.
Yeah.
Is it
Emasculate,
emasculating? It's
emasculate.
kind of emasculating how much they have to talk about like each other's masculinity. Like, I could not do that. So I don't know. This is kind of a tirade, a
No, no,
tangent, but
totally, totally.
just a very weird cultural thing that happens on the right when
Yeah,
they're boosting each other up. I don't really understand. I think the stat is like since the 1950s, the top 1% owned like 22% of the wealth in the country,
Right.
and now they own 30% of the wealth in the country.
Hmm.
So it's like an 8%. And we just have, it's been this steady increase for like 70 years.
Yeah.
And we just have, it's gone unabated. And I
Right.
can see why people are upset by that. In fact, it terrifies me because I think that, you know, the rich becoming too rich and the middle class being hollowed out is like how countries fall apart,
Well,
right?
this is exactly. I mean, yeah, no, and this bill is indicative of that. Of this is going to be a firm step in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can criticize China for a lot of things, a lot of well-deserved things, but the mystery of China
Mm-hmm.
is how a communist country for years built up a really large middle class, and it's a conundrum, right? How did that happen? And it's struggling right now, right, to maintain its middle class. But for years, they worked on making sure that the standard of living sort of evened out as much as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, there's income inequality in China as well, but and pretty drastic, right? But there's a country that really put an effort into creating a middle class and infrastructure for the middle class, and but not here, right? I think since yeah, there's been cuts to a bunch of things that like you were saying like there's no plan to make housing affordable for future homeowners in America or in California. There's
Mm-hmm.
no plans to build new housing, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess yeah, and I think that's the way forward. We just have to well build at least for that one. That one's kind of easy, right?
Yeah. I do think, there's this racial aspect to and how it interacts with wealth in this country. And this tends to be like where I sort of get upset with progressives because they don't understand. They think that the wealth inequality question is just about class, and they struggle to see how it's tied to race, right? And so I think, we've talked about how in our previous episodes how white people in the example of swimming pools in the
Mm,
United States didn't want black people to swim in public swimming pools, so they filled up all of the public swimming pools across the US, right? To
mm,
their own detriment, right? They
right.
no longer had access to the public swimming pools either. And then they built country clubs and private swimming pools where they could have their own swimming pools, right? And largely I think the economy at large has operated under those same principles, right? You set up something like Medicaid or SNAP benefits,
Hmm.
and these programs help the poor get into the middle class, and they help the middle class stay in the
Mm,
middle class.
right.
But then you
Right.
see that, like, shoot, these people of color actually receive these benefits,
Right.
and they seem pretty undeserving, right?
Right.
Because
Exactly.
uh, and the goalposts have always moved. They were originally undeserving because they were like subhuman, right? And then we realized, okay, maybe that's not true. So actually, they're undeserving because they're just not a good investment, right?
Mm, mm, mm,
Because they don't know how to manage their money,
right. Right.
and they live in these poor communities that really
Right.
aren't going to be developed.
Right.
So we shouldn't be investing the government's money in these bad startups, if you will,
Mm, mm,
of communities. And then people realized, okay, well, that's like, redlining
yeah.
and structural racism. And they're like, well, it's really a cultural thing, right? Their culture just does, it's not genetic, but their culture just doesn't lend itself to being
Mm,
good investments, right? So
mm,
they've kept
mm,
moving these goalposts.
right.
But basically, it's always amounted to the fact that, like,
Yeah.
government money spent on certain types of people
Right.
is a waste of government money, right?
Yeah.
And I think that for certain groups of people, white people, they have largely been okay with saying, okay, giving money to the rich people, the rich
Mhm.
white people, is a good investment.
Right.
Giving money to the poor brown people is not a good investment.
Yeah.
So let's
I mean,
strip
and
that money from the
yeah,
bottom and give it to the top.
and we do the same thing in foreign policy, right? We back Israel versus Palestine. Um,
Yeah, true.
for the same. I mean, yeah, for the same reason.
Yeah, around the world.
Yeah, we don't think that that the Palestinians are worth the investment, right? Because they're not, because they're Muslim. Religion sort of comes into play there,
Yeah, exactly.
and we prefer Judeo-Christian values, right? That we can
Hmm.
that we understand, you know,
Yeah.
and they don't scare us, but yeah, and I mean that might come back in the news soon. We might go to war against Iran. Apparently today it just came out. Trump is going to decide in the next 2 weeks what he's going to do. He doesn't know what he's going to do. Um, Apparently, no one's going to know.
He's gonna spin the Trump.
He reminds me of Nixon's strategy of like just bomb everything, so they think I'm a madman.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
he like firebombed Cambodia. I hope he doesn't do that with Tehran. That'd be really bad. But he's good at keeping everyone on their toes right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's another opportunity for him to
Mhm,
play the Apprentice
mhm,
presidential
mhm.
edition. You know,
Exactly.
who knows what I'm
Exactly.
gonna do
Yeah.
2 weeks
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
now?
Stay tuned.
Just hold on to your hats.
Oh.
It could be American. It could be who knows. Could be Iran.
Yeah. I mean,
Could be Obama. Could be Obama.
there's still Obama. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's gonna be really bad. Yeah. It just feels exhausting, right? Um, but yeah, we might soon start bombing Tehran with our large bombs,
Yeah,
which were paraded in front of him. Yeah,
yeah,
it
yeah,
just seems very strange. The weird country we've become, you know.
yeah. It is concerning.
Yeah,
So
The Mad King is ruling right now.
yeah,
Hmm.
we are our policies are making rich people richer, venerating
Hmm.
capitalism. We're
Yeah.
now parading, spending money,
Hmm.
millions of dollars to have military parades
Yeah,
for the president's birthday,
$45 million. Yeah,
for the president's birthday,
all
but at
while
the
yeah,
same
yeah,
time
yeah,
cutting
yeah,
SNAP benefits, food,
yeah,
food
yeah.
for
Literal food. Yeah, bread.
American, literal food
Like
for
this is how
Americans.
empires fall. Like, doesn't he understand that?
Yeah.
Like, we're an extremely consumer like facing society, right?
Hmm.
We are a capitalist nation, late stage capitalism, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
brother.
yeah.
Do I have a bone to pick with the term late stage capitalism?
Good, 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 good. No, here's
Yeah.
the bone. Go for it. What is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
Oh my gosh. This is such a
Uh huh.
stupid term.
It
I
is.
apologize to
Yeah.
anybody
To
who
the
likes to use
economists out
that
there.
term. I
Yeah.
don't mean to say that you're stupid, but this is such a dumb term. First of all, what the hell is late stage capitalism? Like, when is late stage capital? It's late, okay? How late? We're like, this country is always in the latest stage of capitalism that it
Yeah.
will ever be. Were we in late stage capitalism last year, or is that 5 years
Yeah.
from now?
Hmm.
Right? So
And
there's
yeah.
that, first of all.
And if this is late stage capitalism, what comes afterwards?
Yeah.
Yeah. It just sounds like somebody named it. I don't know.
it, it's just a proxy for this is bad capitalism. This is capitalism
But we're
that
not going to
doesn't work
change it.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we going to
It's
do?
it,
Change? We can't. We can't do
yeah.
that.
And so everybody's like, well, what do you
Yeah.
expect?
Yeah.
It's
No,
late stage
yeah, no, I
capitalism.
know.
And
And
I'm like,
it's like we're in our golden cage of
yeah.
consumerism. And
Yeah.
because of that, I don't think we're going to revolt. Yeah,
Mm.
and I think
Yeah, I
that's
think we
yeah,
like I think we like capitalism too much to revolt at this point. I mean, full disclosure, I'm not anti-capitalist. Like,
right. No, I
it's
mean,
very
yeah,
popular to be anti-capitalist these days. I'm not anti-capitalist. I think that if you spend most of your time railing against capitalism, you're kind of wasting most of your time,
yeah. In
because
America, yeah,
capitalism, yeah,
yeah,
capitalism is not like in and of
yeah,
itself the enemy, right? If
right.
what you don't like is greed or
Yes,
corruption
yes.
or
I am
cronyism,
anti-greed and corruption.
yeah, those are
Yes.
things that like you are actually big problems. And I think that's really
Yeah,
what people mean when they
and
say
yeah,
late stage capitalism.
and
They're like, this is capitalism. Hmm.
capitalism needs a government to step in and remind it
Yes.
that workers matter, right? That you can't just exploit workers, right?
Hmm.
That consumers matter, that consumers have rights, and you just can't trick consumers into giving them your capital, right?
Yeah.
And I think like healthy capitalism even demands oversight from the government.
Yeah.
We dismantled that completely
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
for the last 40 years, right? Which is why
Hmm.
we're in late stage capitalism. Uh, yeah, and again, I think we have been here before. There was the Gilded Age, right? And it was sort of the same thing,
Right.
but a lot worse because it was just literal like 10 people controlled all the gold, and
Yeah.
everyone else was starving, you know. And I think it was what Calvin Coolidge, like laissez-faire economics, right? It's just like he's just gonna let it be, right? And But yeah, I at this point, we have the representation. He's not the richest man in the world, not even close, right? But he's sort of the representation of what people think would be, you know, uh, yeah, an example of an American capitalist, right?
Hmm.
And I don't think there's a door anymore. Like, I mean, he literally let all the billionaires in, and I think we're gonna have to rename it something other than late stage capitalism. I think it's like the oligarch stage, or I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's cronyism. I think it's corruption. I think it's like the thing that bothers me is that if you think capitalism is the problem, you might not know exactly what capitalism is, right? Like capitalism helped China lift like a
Yeah.
billion people out of poverty, right? They didn't do it by like getting better at communism. They did it by like getting better at capitalism. That's how they
Yeah.
managed to make poor people middle class.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
capitalism has a lot of power.
It does.
It's not the only
It
tool
does.
that governments should have in their toolbox.
Yeah.
I think welfare is great.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that we have demeaned welfare and like
Totally. Yeah.
and made it a bad word, but I think welfare is awesome
Yeah.
as long
No.
as you admit that like a sometimes people are going to get welfare that don't deserve it, but it's going to be a small fraction of the population, and b that welfare for people that don't look like you is still money well spent.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
can, I think, accept those two things, welfare works great, and that's why welfare works the
No, and I
best.
mean, and welfare, like, I think welfare is more of a manifestation of a nation's power than a military parade.
Right.
Like we are the richest country. No one's going to starve if they're in our borders. Like
Hmm.
back in the day, that's the country that you wanted. That's the powerful kingdom, right? The one that has, the one that no one goes hungry in.
Exactly. Yeah.
As opposed to the one that has the biggest missiles. And in this country, it's both. We have the most money and we have the most missiles, and so why are we only investing, right,
Hmm.
in more missiles, right? Why can't And yeah, not don't even get me started on health, right? Like, we definitely should have health in this country. We can afford it, and we just choose not to invest in it because exactly what you said. It's not gonna. We have a problem with race, and we have a problem with class, and those
Hmm.
are
Hmm.
very close in hand. And Yeah, I don't think. I think when someone like Trump says, you know what, your money should go to the real people that make this country great, which is my friends, the rich people, and I think the MAGA faithful, that clicks, and they'd rather give tax breaks to them than than food stamps to Latino and Black families, in the
Yeah.
South and in
The
California.
problem is that they think it's just Latino and Black families, and then
Yeah,
they
true,
actually realize that it's
true.
them. And they're
Yeah,
like, wait.
that's
I
true.
thought we were cutting welfare.
Yeah,
I'm not on welfare. It's like,
right.
yeah, you
Yeah.
actually are, though. And now they're waking up. I think
Sure,
each generation
I
has
think you're right.
woken up a little bit more and been like, oh, wait, like, I actually like this program. I actually like Obamacare. Obamacare
Yeah,
actually helps me. It's not just Obama's healthcare for Black people, right?
right.
And so we are getting, I think, a sort of resurgence in the popularity of some of these
Mhm.
welfare programs. But I think it should be much better. I think it should be much greater, and we should be much more willing to cut rich people's taxes to get. I think that the things that are dangerous are that no system works when the people at the top are stealing the government's money in order to pay themselves,
Yeah,
right? Like late
yeah,
stage capitalism, late stage socialism, late stage communism, like they're all really bad when you have
yeah,
cronyism,
yeah. The collapse will
corruption.
happen. Yeah, no, these things aren't forever, right? Yes, I think you're right.
So yeah, that's one of my points. I think that what's so interesting is that one of the popular ways in which we try to fight back against our corporate oligarchs is through capitalism,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So Anthony, like tell me what you think about this. Like, let's say you are, a middle income American consumer and you want to buy a car and you decide, I want to buy like the most economical car on the market for
mm,
myself, right?
mm,
Like
mm.
basically the cheapest car
Sure.
that's reliable, has decent levels of comfort and
Yeah.
technology incorporated into it. And you think, to top it all off, I like the environment. So, like, let's make it an electric car.
Mm,
Let's make it more sustainable. I don't have to buy gas, no more
mm,
money to the Saudis.
mm,
I don't want to have to get engine checks or
mm.
smog checks or tune ups.
Sure.
So, yeah. And so you buy this car.
Hmm.
And then it just so happens that, like, the person that, like, runs the car company may or may not have given a Nazi salute at election day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he
Yeah.
may or may not be on ketamine,
Right. Right. Right.
and he may or may not have fired a bunch of people who might be friends of yours in the government and cause them to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you beholden to that man and his whims just because you happen to have bought a car
Oh, that's
comes
amazing.
from a company that he once acquired years ago?
Look, you know what? You know what? I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to let the listener answer that in the comments below.
Yeah, comment below. Tell me
I
tell me
think we
what to
know what
make
he's
of.
talking about. Yeah.
But I'm asking on behalf of a friend
I
who
see.
may or may not bear a similar name to myself. Like, are are we beholden to all of the ethics of the
I
people
know.
that, like, are make the stuff that we buy?
Right. Right. I
It
mean,
seems. Mhm.
yeah, I mean, everyone got off X, right, to go to Blue Sky, right?
Yeah, we all got off X, right?
Yeah, which
We all
seems
got off
like,
X.
well, yeah, we totally got off X. But it seems like such a lame way of like protesting, Like even like when the right does it, like if you're anti-gay, go to Chick-fil-A on this day. Like that was the stupidest thing
Chick-fil-A.
ever. It was so dumb. I was like, I'm gonna vote with my mouth. It's like that's not gay at all. You know, I'm gonna stuff meat in my mouth to show I'm anti-gay. But like like gays still boycott Chick-fil-A, and like it's like a reverse thing, right? Well, that was a reverse boycott, right? That's like come by the thing if you're if you're
Hmm.
against it,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah, I mean, it goes
yeah,
both ways.
yeah, it does. But yeah, you're right. I think we do see our choices, especially now are in a late stage capitalist society. The economic choices we make.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we've attached a sort of moral, aura to them. And
Yeah.
then they better not get canceled. Or else you had poor judgment. In who you wanted to give your money to, because that's the most sacred thing you could do in this society. You could give your money to somebody, right? This
Right.
is
And it's kind of the
wrong.
most
Yeah,
capitalist way
yeah, yeah.
to think about like one's morality and
It
ethics.
is.
And
Yeah, it's this
it
is
is it
fascinating,
is
really.
kind of
Yeah.
interesting to me that like the people that like, quote unquote despise capitalism the most
Mhm.
are tend to be very keen like understanding how
Mhm.
you're spending your money and you're
Right.
spending your money and like does this money go to some like evil overlord,
Right.
which like newsflash,
Right. Yeah.
yes it does, like
Everything does. Yeah.
everything goes to some sort of
It doesn't trickle down, but everything eventually trickles back up to them.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I do think it is an interesting conundrum because on
Yeah.
one hand I think that this tactic comes out of things like the Montgomery bus boycott,
Yeah.
which was very effective during the civil rights movement of getting black people the right
Mm.
to sit on at the front of the bus.
Yeah.
Uh, and we've seen boycotts of things work,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
We've
They do.
seen
Because we live in a capitalist society. That's why they
exactly
work. Yeah.
because we live in a capitalist society,
Yeah.
right? But
Apparently, so
so
just real quick, the word boycott apparently comes from a guy. It was a guy's name.
oh really?
Yeah, a Lord boycott in Ireland. Ireland's coming up a lot in this. And like he was basically an asshole, right? He was an a-hole down the k-hole. He was the Elon Musk of the time, right? He was like this really rich like English lord, and he like treated all his workers like crap. And eventually like they all left, and he was like, it's okay, leave, like I'll just hire more, right? But eventually all the workers like, don't go work for that fucking guy, like he
Wow.
mistreats you, and they
Mhm.
boycotted him.
Mhm.
And so that's where the term comes from. A really
Oh,
like
that's incredible.
an English asshole, you know? Yeah.
Fantastic. And it's been a great tool. It's been a great tool in the
Mhm.
toolbox. I think that it is
Yeah.
kind of gotten to this stage where we are sort of evaluating in every person these days
Yeah.
on their spending decisions.
Mhm.
And it's very difficult because
Yeah.
there's a lot of a-holes out there that make good
Right.
stuff, whether it's music
Mm.
and
Right.
art. I mean, can you name me a nice musician? Like, they probably don't exist. They
Right.
probably don't exist. But yeah, I mean, from musicians to movie
Yeah.
stars,
Yes.
various artists, like
Comedians. Yes.
there's so many
Yeah.
ways to give your money in
Right.
some capacity to some sort of moral monster.
Well, yeah, and it's this idea that we expect, the manufacturers of the creators of our art or of our products
Hmm.
to be moral, and to be role models of morality, right?
Hmm.
Because I think that's still a very American thing of like, we want you guys to be the role models. Please act accordingly, right?
Right.
And we will continue this relationship of us giving, you our money and you
Hmm.
being on top, because there has to be a justification for why you're on top, right? So
Hmm.
hopefully it's because you're moral, and
Right.
when that shatters, you start to see this entire system is just based on calculated greed. That's it.
Hmm.
It's just it's
Yes.
not. They didn't get to the place where they're at from being a good moral person. Even artists in this country, we think that artists are like the most pure, like, expressions of humanity, right?
Yeah.
Musicians, comedians, but no, they're just as flawed, right? And
Yeah.
they're just as and if you want to enjoy their art guilt free, right? I don't think that's possible anymore. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So I really don't actually know what the answer is to that
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
because on one hand we have seen that it is possible to shift, as these historical examples have provided, and even more recent ones, like people started boycotting Target after they
Right.
changed their DEI
Right.
programs, and then they start to reverse course and say, "Oh, no, no, no! Actually, we're gonna bring it back.
Right.
Let's talk
Right.
about
Right.
that."
Right.
So, on one hand, these boycotts are fairly effective at changing the mindset of corporate entities. On the other hand, it is really difficult to boycott everything, uh, and people sort of pick and choose what they're going to boycott. Some people are like, "I'm boycotting Chick-fil-A
Right.
unless I'm really hungry, and
Right.
then I might
I,
not be
I, I, I
boycotting it
I
anymore."
will say I've never had it until like about a month ago. Yeah, a very, very good friend of mine
All right.
suggested it.
How much does Anthony's morals cost, everybody?
Yeah,
Let's
no, no, no. But so
lean in.
the funny thing is that he's also gay, but like,
Oh, great.
yeah, yeah, I know, but like he
There's
likes
a
fried,
permission
but
structure.
like he likes fried chicken, right? Like
Uh-huh.
that's also just a side note. Like I went to one, right? I went to the one closest to me.
Mhm.
I always joke around with him, like on Sundays. I'm like, should we go get it now, right? But then they're closed on Sundays because they're a good Christian company, right? But so we can't get it on Sundays. But you go in there, and I'm sure they have you gone into a Chick-fil-A lately? I don't know if this is
Not
mine.
lately, no.
Yeah, but the servers there, which I think are all Latinos, which is great, which is great. But
That's
like
good.
like I think like on the walls you see like the pictures of the founders. So like it's like you're going into this place, and it's like a bunch of white people on the wall reminding you they're the owners, and then they have to have trained the service staff in like Southern hospitality, right? Like
Mm,
whatever that
mhm,
means, because they are the most attentive, like fast food workers probably that I've ever encountered, right? Like they were so
mhm,
nice and like so attentive, but in a way that's like, I know this is not coming from like you.
mhm,
This was a training, that David Duchovny came on and showed you how to like do Southern hospitality or something. So
mhm,
it was just really
mhm.
surreal. They do have really good chicken nuggets, I will say. They do. They do have good chicken. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's strange.
Yeah, it's good chicken, and sometimes
I went
it's
for the
worth it.
experience, is what I'm trying to say to the listener. You know.
I see. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
know your enemy.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Also, I don't know if I should mention this, but there was a time. So it was during a time where
Mhm,
like I would have these massive nosebleeds, right?
mhm,
I went to the doctor. Thank you that I have good healthcare, right? And I got it taken care of. But there were a few days that like I would get these nosebleeds that would not stop, right? Like for
mhm.
hours. And I went to lunch at Chick-fil-A, and one of those started, and so I was like bleeding while I was eating the chicken. So I feel like that was like God's trying to strike me down, like a gay god. The gay gods trying to be like, you can be here, but you're gonna spill blood all over the place.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely.
I used all of their napkins in the bathroom.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah, yeah. That
I
felt
will
right.
say I will say that I do think that there may be some kind of threat. You mentioned God striking you down for eating
Right.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do feel like there is this kind of thread
Right.
between. I'm not sure you know where I'm going with this, Anthony.
I kind of
Don't
do.
subscribe yet.
Okay. All right. All
But
right.
like
I'll tell you if it
I
works.
do feel like there's this thread between people that are religious and kind of rejecting some level of the kind corporate ethics like ethos where they like derive some kind of moral structure
Yeah.
from their purchases, and then those that are like less religious. And I feel like if, and I have no data to back this up, but I feel like the people that are less religious feel like more inclined to derive a level of like ethical responsibility from your purchases,
Mm.
right? Like I feel like it's a lot more non-denominational. Like I like I said, I don't have the data to back this up, but I do feel like the culture of the left, where they're kind of like,
Yeah.
this is why we're good people,
Yeah, exactly. I think you're
because
right. I think you're right about
we,
that.
don't buy this and we don't buy that, and we don't say
Yeah.
this and we don't say that,
Right.
meshes a lot better when you're like moral compass isn't, coming from some book written like
Yeah.
2000 years ago,
Yeah.
right? Like there seems to be like a greater need to satisfy your
Look
what's the
at you
word?
criticizing the left. Look at you.
I know, I'm so good at it. I'm
I
so good at
know.
it.
Look at you.
I feel like there's a greater need to
That could be like
yeah.
that is a really like legitimate criticism. Like if you're making it from like let's say a right church going, Floridian,
Hmm.
right? Is looking at is looking at a liberal in Seattle, right?
Hmm.
And the Floridian, gets his morality from a book. Sure, I don't know how he's interpreting that book, and maybe it's getting him, to hate people that aren't different from him or whatever. But he's whatever. He's looking at the Seattle person, and the Seattle person is saying, "Well, I'm moral. I'm more moral than you are because I buy local, and I don't, I don't go to Banana Republic, and the people that sewed my clothes aren't in little kids, but you did, Floridian, even if you believe in the Bible." And the Floridian is telling us like, well, like, yeah, like I think my morality has a better basis, right, than what you buy, and I think you're trying to fill in, what makes me a good moral person by by looking down on my economic choices.
Right.
Also, the Seattle resident has more money to spend. You know, um,
Sure. Yeah.
they can't afford to make cruelty free their religion.
Hmm. Hmm.
Which a lot of people can't. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to, McDonald's, or you have to go to Walmart, right? You have to go to these, the bad guys, right?
Hmm.
Because you can't afford, to buy that custom made thing or whatever, you know.
Right. Like the virtue signaling comes at a
Right.
high
Exactly.
cost. That's the
Exactly.
word I was looking for, right? The virtual
Exactly.
signaling comes at like a high cost, because
Right.
you're right. To buy free trade coffee, or
Right.
whatever it is, like these things are more expensive, uh and so it is, I find that this very large cultural divide that creates a lot of people talking past each other, because if I'm telling you you're a bad person
Right.
by this,
Right.
by my code of ethics,
Right.
and I think it's objective because, I'm not preaching to you from some book,
Right.
right? But I am still talking to you about ethics and morals, right? That is, I think, problematic for our country,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a whole bunch of people that are like, okay, yeah, you like don't buy, whatever. Like there's like conservative people who won't buy a Tesla because they just like don't like electric vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And they think like Elon is an a-hole, but like not because they think buying a Tesla makes them like a bad person, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't think
Right.
that you hear that from the right. It's not like, oh, this guy owns a Tesla, he owns a Cybertruck, like he's about. You may be an a-hole, like you may be.
So the
There
funny
may
thing,
be
yeah,
other reasons why
yeah,
that's not the car of choice for them, but it's not like there isn't this like you're giving money to a
right.
Nazi, damn it. Like that's not the conversation that they're
Yeah.
having about why they don't like EVs.
One of the fun byproducts of Elon Trump feud is that
Yeah.
you remember, of course, and I can get your reaction on what you felt when you saw this, but when Trump like bought a Tesla, he was doing a
Yeah.
Tesla commercial on the White House lawn, right? Which is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
blatant corruption, and but he bought
Mm-hmm.
one, right? And apparently, before the rift, like he doesn't drive, right? So he would let
Mm-hmm.
everyone use it. So it was like the White House Tesla. But now
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't like Elon, and he owns a Tesla, which is kind of what liberal Tesla owners are feeling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in a way, this has made
So
him
they have a friend in
relatable.
Trump. Yeah.
They've made he's become relatable now.
Yeah. I will say that at the No Kings
Right.
rally in Palo Alto,
Hmm.
which is for those that have never been to Palo Alto, this is the Mecca.
Yeah.
Palo Alto is the
Oh
Mecca of
yeah.
Teslas.
Totally. Totally. They're built in
It
Fremont, which is right across from.
exactly, and I think that they might have been the cars that honked the loudest
Mm, mm,
in
mm.
driving by the protest.
Wow, wow.
Almost a little bit
Literally,
like
literally, thou
over.
dost protest too much. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
almost like are compensating for something. But I just found that like I would see like so many Tesla owners like pull up to the event and hop out of the Tesla with like their destroy Musk like sign. It's like we do understand we're protesting like an authoritarian administration,
Um,
right? It's like
yeah.
no. This is about Musk,
This is
and
personal.
this is
This is
personal,
me.
and like this car is no longer fashionable for me, and so
Yeah.
I have to show everybody that like
Yesterday, I saw a Cybertruck with the Elon stickers, which
oh
I've never
wow,
seen a
that's
Cybertruck
surprising.
with
Yeah,
one. Yeah, that was
yeah, because you think like by that time
yeah,
people
yeah.
kind of knew, right?
Right, right,
Like by
exactly,
the time you're buying a
exactly.
Cybertruck, it's like you haven't figured out this guy, a little cuckoo for Cocoa
Yeah,
Puffs.
yeah. That's my first
So
time
that's
seeing
okay. Cybertruck, okay, get it,
that.
Cybertruck owners,
Yeah, like
get it.
oh jeez, I know. It's like what what he's changed. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah, I do think we are living in an interesting time when where people derive their code of ethics from so diverse,
yeah.
and that makes it hard to have some of these
Well,
conversations around
how
values.
about this? I hear from, especially today, that it's Juneteenth. Like this economic organizing from women-owned business, buy from
Hmm.
black-owned
Hmm.
businesses, buy from
Right,
gay-owned
right, right.
businesses, right? Like it does have. It's a very loud part of the conversation, right?
Hmm.
And I think it's a realization that in a capitalist society, this is how you lift people up and how you people down,
Hmm.
And there's a practicality to that and a pragmatism to that is appealing, but there is a sort of empty moral emptiness to it, a moral emptiness to that as well.
Right.
Of
And there's
who is worthy of your cash, therefore
yeah,
people that you agree with are worthy of your cash, and you
yeah.
show people that you don't agree with that they're repugnant by withholding your cash.
Hmm. And I think there's a lot of fear on the back end that people don't want to admit where yeah, support black owned businesses. I think this is a great idea. Go spend your money. But then like what if you don't spend your money at black owned businesses? Like
Right,
are
right.
you not part of the are you no longer invited to the cookout?
I know,
Like,
I know. Yeah,
oh
yeah.
shoot.
Come on.
And so there is like a fear, like for everything, for every like positive, there is sort of a negative, right? And I think that people living with that fear, that does definitely drive people to Trump because it gets to this place where he's like, well, this guy doesn't care about anything. Like, these people don't care what you spend your money on. They don't care if you give it to, Epstein or Cosby, or like I can listen to R. Kelly again if I
Right,
like
right,
join
right.
Donald Trump.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, look at Kanye. He loves Nazis
Yeah, yeah,
and he
that's
loves
something.
Trump. So
Right,
there is kind of like this freedom there,
right.
which I don't think is. I think we can't ignore that. That's like that plays a factor, especially for I think like young people who
Yeah,
are still trying to figure out like who they even are and like what they stand for.
right, right. Okay. No, this is good. This is good.
All right. Well, I think
Yeah, we covered a lot.
we covered a lot, and thanks to our listeners for tuning in to this
Totally,
episode.
totally.
Remember to,
Oh, and don't do
I
ketamine. I think that's something. Just don't do it. It will give you bladder issues. So yeah.
okay. Well, don't knock it till you tried it. I always say. Uh, that's a joke. That's a joke. Please don't
Just
cancel
don't go
me.
down the K hole because apparently he did. Apparently Elon went deep down the K hole.
He's deep in it.
Yeah, and maybe he's coming back out. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens to
We'll
that
see.
particular a hole.
But yes, that's why you subscribe to this channel.
Yes.
Give you public service announcements. Don't do ketamine. Always buy free trade coffee.
If you're at a Starbucks right now, how dare you? How dare you? You should know.
And I hope you guys have a great week. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.